While zombie movies have created quite a niche within the supernatural horror genre, many modern-day variations of these brain-dead monsters have elevated the horror experience to a whole new level. From the hyper-aggressive zombies in Train to Busan, to the alpha zombies in Army of the Dead, this subgenre is overflowing with some of the most unique twists to typical zombie threats. Today, we've curated a list of the top 10 movies and shows with creatures worse than your average run-of-the-mill zombie. So without further ado, let us jump right into it and explore them. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Stop! You've no idea!
28 Days Later, 2002. 28 Weeks Later, 2007, with David Boyle largely emphasizing that he did not direct 28 Days Later to be a zombie film. It would be a disgrace to kick off this list with any other film besides his 2002 post-apocalyptic horror. Written by Alex Garland, 28 Days Later starred Cillian Murphy in the lead role as a bicycle courier who snaps out of a coma only to discover that an accidental aggression-inducing virus has caused a major outbreak that's leading to society's downfall. This incident starts with an animal rights activist group that accidentally frees a chimpanzee from a laboratory, which soon kicks off a virus that spreads across Great Britain. While Murphy's character awakens from his coma and finds himself wandering around the desert streets of London, he's horrified to see infected humans act in the most aggressive manner as they try to hunt him down. He also inspects local buildings and churches, only to realize that these places have become murder scenes for widespread massacres, and he barely survives with some help from a bunch of survivors, as they battle all odds and try to stay safe. Unfortunately, some of them do get infected and end up killing one another, but the majority of the film's plot focuses on the aggressive virus-infected residents, who have lost all sense of humanity and have turned on their own kind. Even though this film is not a zombie film in the traditional sense, it essentially reinvigorated the genre and was such a huge hit that it created an entire franchise, including entries such as 28 Weeks Later and 28 Years Later. Train to Busan, 2016. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho, Train to Busan doesn't need any introduction as one of the biggest hits within the zombie apocalypse genre. The film starred Gong Yoo and Jung Yoo-mi in the leading roles, and most of the plot revolves around an apocalyptic outbreak in Korea, wherein some passengers on board a train to Busan find themselves disconnected from the world, only to realize that life around them has ceased to exist. While the apocalypse seems to have turned most of the population into mindless zombies, the passengers find themselves at great risk when an infected woman manages to get on board at the last minute and helplessly turns into an aggressive zombie as the infection spreads through her body. In no time, the infection starts making its way through the train, and the overwhelmed survivors find themselves fighting against all odds to make it out alive, while dealing with these hyper-aggressive, virus-infected zombies. This film won over the audience by introducing the characters in a way that makes us feel for them, and while it's a supernatural film, the fully realized characters and social commentary underscore the action and keep us on the edge of our seats. Army of the Dead, 2021. Directed by Zack Snyder, Army of the Dead is a 2021 post-apocalyptic film that takes us on a roller coaster adventure by introducing the concept of a zombie heist amidst the chaos. The film featured an ensemble cast including Dave Bautista, Ella Purnell, and Omari Hardwick, among others, and follows a bunch of mercenaries who decided to capitalize on the zombie apocalypse chaos to plan a heist at a Las Vegas casino. In the aftermath of a zombie release from Area 51, casino owner Bly Tanaka reaches out to a mercenary to assemble a team to recover about $200 million from the casino vault before the military executes a tactical nuclear strike to get rid of the zombie infection. However, things take a turn for the worse when they recruit a team to complete the mission and dare to enter Las Vegas despite numerous zombie threats ranging from a zombified tiger to alpha zombies who are seemingly intelligent, well-coordinated, and super strong creatures that allied with them in exchange for a sacrifice. As this team navigates its way through structures full of hibernating zombies, we learn that Bly actually wanted them to find a zombie head so that he could create an entire army of zombies and capitalize on it. This film truly takes us for a ride as we explore themes of businessmen trying to get richer, zombies trying to satiate their aggressive urges, and a team of mercenaries who are killing their way through Los Angeles. And it's most definitely a nail-biter, as we can't help but wonder about the characters' fates right until the last moment. Resident Evil Afterlife, Retribution, Final Chapter, 2010 to 2016. Written and directed by Paul Anderson, Resident Evil Afterlife was a direct sequel to Resident Evil Extinction that dealt with a zombie apocalypse in Alaska. In the aftermath of this film, our protagonist Alice embarks on a mission to find other survivors of the T-virus outbreak across Los Angeles. In this endeavor, she encounters a feral Claire Redfield and helps her regain some sanity before finding other survivors from prison. This film introduces many prominent characters from the Resident Evil video games, such as Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, Albert Wesker, and Jill Valentine, and even incorporates video game elements such as mind control devices and Chris's shocking confrontation with Albert. As they combat the bioorganic weapon called T-virus, the film takes us on a roller coaster of an adventure as the infected individuals end up getting exposed to extreme mutations and become a far more aggressive version of themselves. While the T-virus was designed to mutate the hosts into stronger beings, it had a zombie-like impact on the individuals, laying the groundwork for the franchise to branch out from video games to fast-paced zombie apocalypse films. Slither 2006. Released in 2006, Slither is a sci-fi comedy horror that was written and directed by James Gunn in his directorial debut. While he has made waves with his work since then, Slither has quite a special spot in our hearts among his filmography, and it stars prominent actors such as Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, Michael Rooker, and Greg Henry. The film started out with a meteorite that carries a malevolent, sentient parasite and crashes on Earth in a small town in South Carolina. When locals Grant and Brenda stumble upon the crash site in the woods, Grant ends up getting infected, and it doesn't take long for the parasite to take control over his body and absorb his memories and consciousness. In no time, the parasite infects Grant to an extent where he transforms into a tentacled monster and loses all control over his body. While he manages to explain the changes as an allergic reaction, his wife Starla gets increasingly suspicious and tries to contact her police friend and crush, Chief Bill Party. While this film is a terrific entry in the sci-fi monster genre, it's also quite a horror comedy as Bill struggles to control his feelings for Starla, while Grant ends up impregnating Brenda. As a result of his infection, their interaction results in the creation of hundreds of children, and Grant then keeps Brenda hidden in a barn and feeds her a diet of dead animals and raw meat. She also goes crazy with an insatiable hunger, while baby alien slugs start crawling within her body and take complete control of her insides. This film is quite a wild journey, and Brenda even explodes and spews out hundreds of alien slugs that infect the town, while Grant absorbs most of the town's citizens into his hive mind. Eventually, it boils down to Bill and Kylie to put an end to this madness and contain the infections and parasites. And while this is not a zombie film, these extraterrestrial parasites do take control of human minds in a similar manner to undead zombies. Oat Studios, Zygote 2017 short film. Created by Oat Studios, Zygote was a short film that introduced a whole new life form, known for its terrorizing, violent nature. These zygotes had first appeared on Earth between 2040 and 2050, in the time period where several meteor strikes had destroyed most of North America. Moreover, these strikes had brought along all kinds of alien material, metals, as well as foreign life forms called the zygote. These creatures were named after the zygote that's formed when two gametes come together to create a new life, and were a reference to these creatures' ability to assimilate their victim. Throughout the film, the zygote appears as a gigantic 9-foot-tall lifeform, whose body consists of human and alien corpse cells, as well as body parts. For instance, this creature's legs were essentially an assimilation of many of its victims' limbs, and its hands also sprouted a bunch of other different arms. The zygote's other arm had a spear-like attachment that could kill its victims, and its head was made up of innumerable torsos. This creature was quite uncomfortable to look at, and it even had many eyes, lined up across its waist. While it did not have a mouth, it could let out a human-like screeching sound, and it had apparently assimilated about 97 human beings by the end of the film. Moreover, the zygote also had the ability to gain its victims' intelligence, knowledge, and memories, which makes it far more deadly than your average brain-dead zombie.
What the hell? Look out!
Marvel Zombies 2025 TV show. Recently released in September 2025, Marvel Zombies is an animated television series based on a Marvel comic by the same name. This story is considered a spin-off of the What If series episode and was created by Brian Andrews and Zeb Wells. This 4-episode-long miniseries follows the Avengers as they deal with the quantum virus, an encephalopathic virus that started in the quantum realm and soon spread across other realities. Soon enough, this virus had corrupted its victims' brains and transformed them into zombies, and it spread at lightning speed across the United States. While the Avengers make their way to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco to deal with the outbreak, Captain America unfortunately gets infected by the virus, and the rest of the Avengers also fall victim to the outbreak. While their safety is at risk, a desperate group of survivors discovers S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intergalactic transmitter device that just might help them put an end to the menace caused by these superpowered undead creatures. The show's first season has a total of 4 episodes that will have you hooked to the screen, and honestly, it's such a refreshing mix of superhero action and zombie apocalypses that you might just end up binging it all at once. Overlord 2018. Directed by Julius Avery, Overlord is a 2018 action horror film that stars Jovan Adepo, Wyatt Russell, and Matilda Oliver in leading roles. The plot is set in an alternate 1940s, and it revolves around American soldiers who find themselves behind enemy lines and stumble upon terrifying Nazi experiments while being sent on a mission to destroy a radio jamming tower. Unfortunately, they stumble upon horrifying sights and come across a woman named Chloe, who takes them home to her 8-year-old brother, who had been disfigured in one such instance. While they explore the play, they also witness Nazi warriors burning disfigured locals and eventually discover their lab, where they seem to be experimenting on some serum and black tar. The squad somehow manages to escape, but one of them gets injected with the serum and witnesses his resurrection as a violent mutant. Even though they deal with this threat and kill him on the spot, the story soon takes a chaotic turn, as more and more of the village gets infected with this serum, while the squad races against time to detonate the laboratory base and declare that their D-Day invasion has been successful. The story mainly follows Jovan Adepo as Private Edward Boyce, who not only discovers the experiment's base, but also manages to detonate the entire place while simultaneously destroying the jamming tower that marked a major victory for their mission. The zombie-like mutated residents were quite an intriguing touch to an already jam-packed action movie, and we highly recommend it if you enjoy indulging in war media, action-adventure stories, and alternate universes filled with mutants and strange experiments. Am Legend 2007. Directed by Francis Lawrence, Am Legend is a 2007 post-apocalyptic action horror that was inspired by Richard Matheson's novel by the same name. The story follows a virus in New York City, which initially intends to cure cancer, but eventually ends up wiping out most of humanity. While this virus mutates into the Crippen virus that gets rid of about 90% of the human population, the remaining minority ends up transforming into vampiric mutants called Darkseekers. These mutants wander around at night to avoid direct sunlight and prey on survivors, while U.S. Army virologist Robert Neville lives in isolation and tries his best to survive and find a way to defeat the virus. With barely any humans left, Neville takes it upon himself to experiment on infected rats and reach out to any survivors through radio broadcasts to cope with loneliness and even find a way out of this isolated existence. His attempts bring him in contact with survivors and Darkseekers alike, and this film is truly quite an interesting entry in the list, as Neville tries his best to put an end to the Crippen virus. Last of Us TV show. Created by Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann for HBO, The Last of Us is undeniably one of the most well-known zombie apocalypse shows in recent times. It's inspired by the video game franchise created by Naughty Dog, and it stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey in lead roles as they travel across the United States in a post-apocalyptic world. The show is set in a future where human society has succumbed to a mass fungal infection, wherein victims end up turning into zombie-like creatures and lose all sense of their humanity. While this show focuses on the survivors' attempts to create a better future for themselves, a prominent identity that was introduced in The Last of Us Part 2 took things to a whole new level with its horrifying nature. Known as the Rat King, this creature was a superorganism created out of many stalkers, clickers, and a bloater who had been assimilated into one being with the help from the cordyceps fungus. In this form, the Rat King had tremendous strength and resilience, and he was made up of some of the few people who had first succumbed to the cordyceps brain infection in Seattle. Even though this show is littered with all kinds of infected entities, the Rat King is the strongest among them, and he seemingly developed into this monster after being left in this infected state for about 25 years, which explains his super strength and durability. While this show is definitely worth a watch, even just for the plot and cast, the Rat King's misadventures and zombie-like behavior serve as the cherry on top of the cake and truly enhance the experience. Marvelous Verdict. And with that, we've explored some of the most horrifying zombies in recent pop culture, ranging from creatures in Train to Busan and 28 Days Later to the zombified heroes in Marvel's Zombies television show. We hope you enjoyed exploring some of these shockingly threatening zombie characters, and while you might have already watched a few of these entries, we assure you that every single one of these recommendations is worth adding to your watch list for your next supernatural horror watch. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.